Welcome to the Events Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Taylor, and each week I talk with event professionals about how they plan, promote, and run their events. We help you build your events empire by growing your business around live events. Whether you're running small meetups or conferences, trade shows, and concerts, we focus on finding actionable tips that you can use straight away. This podcast is sponsored by EventsFrame. Check it out over at eventsframe.com. Make the switch from Eventbrite today to our amazing ticketing and registration system with no ticket fees. It integrates with all the major payment gateways such as Stripe, PayPal, and Braintree. And we also have the best email integrations out there, including MailChimp, Zapier, Infusionsoft, Aweber, Drip, and many, many more. You can use our versatile website builder or embed tickets directly in your own site. We've got thousands of live events on EventsFrame, ranging from small community meetups to large trade shows and conferences. EventsFrame is especially good for anyone wanting to run multiple events, as you can host an unlimited number of events on your EventsFrame account. Most ticketing systems charge you a minimum of 3% of the ticket price, but we just have a flat, low fee with no ticket fees and no restrictions. There's genuinely no system out there that is cheaper than EventsFrame. So head on over to eventsframe.com for a free 1-month trial. And we also have a special offer just for podcast listeners. Email me at dan@eventsframe.com, dan@eventsframe.com, with the subject line podcast, and I'll send you a special discount code. So that's all. Let's get on to the interview. Hello and welcome to the Events Podcast. Today I'm delighted to be talking to Mariska Kesteloo, I hope I'm saying it correctly, who is from the Netherlands but based in Belgium, I think, right now. And we're going to be talking about influencer marketing and social media marketing. So welcome, Mariska.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Great. So, Mariska, we were just talking beforehand. Where are you actually living right now?
For a lot of people, it's quite confusing. After 15 years, I'm now back in my home country in the Netherlands. But you're correct. Before that, I lived 4 months in the United States, and before that, 9 years in Belgium. So you're correct. A lot of people still think that I was living in Belgium, but I'm now back since actually a month. I'm back in my home country.
Great. I travel a lot I'm on the Sky team. I'm on KLM Flying Blue scheme, so I fly all the time through Schiphol. I was at Schiphol, Amsterdam airport, I guess 3 days ago. I'm there every single month. I know everything in that airport so well. I like it, it's got worse actually, but it's a really good airport to transfer through because generally speaking, until recently, anyway, they only ever did a passport scan. They never any bag check. Now they've started doing this secondary check, which makes it a nightmare sometimes if you're unlucky. But generally, it's a really good airport to go through.
Yes, indeed, correct. Because I was quite surprised, and I posted it 2 weeks ago when I went to Istanbul. So for international flights, you don't need to open your suitcase and get out the liquids and put off your belt and your shoes. You can just put on all your luggage on at the security. Even your water, you can take it with you, and you can go through the scan. I was so surprised by so many airports. It's a hassle to get. It feels sometimes like a striptease putting everything off.
Yeah, definitely. It's I like Amsterdam airport. I've spent too much time there in the KLM Business Lounge. But yeah, so let's get into your background, really. So your website is wordofmice.com, and like I mentioned before, you do a lot of influencer marketing. So can we just go start from the beginning and just talk about what your background is in the events industry and what you've done?
My background actually is not in the meetings and events industry. I studied tourism in the Netherlands, where I grew up, and I worked for almost 10 years in the tourism industry. And at that time, already destinations, because I lived in several countries in Turkey, Tunisia, Spain, France, Morocco, already destinations came to me and said, Mariska, you have such a great network. What can you do to support us? We would like to have more clients. So that question already came 10 years ago, but I didn't know how to support them and find the right to give them the information that they need. And since 8 years ago, I switched to the meetings and events industry, got involved in MPI, Meetings Professionals International.
Now, what is Meetings Professionals International? I've never heard of that.
No? Oh, okay. I'm quite...
Well, I have. No, I tell a lie. I've heard of it. I've heard of MPI, and I know it's an organization, but I don't know much about it.
MPI is an international association, so it stands for Meeting Professionals International. It is 40 or 45 years ago already. It started in the United States. The headquarters is in Dallas. And their main focus is education. So education for everyone who is planning or facilitating events.
Right.
This means if you're a meeting planner, if you're a sales manager of a hotel, so they invest a lot of time and effort in getting education for people who are working in the meeting and events industry. And I'm still part of the board, but I will leave the board after being dedicated member and president of the chapter in Belgium after 6 years. So I will leave in July my position. But it's been really it's a big association. It's one of the largest in the world. We have 18,000 members all around the world, from Japan until Europe, until the United States. So it's quite huge, and we have also a large industry voice, which means we can achieve to really make our industry more professional and more educated.
Great. So you were saying you got involved with MPI then as kind of a starting point?
Yes, because I wanted to grow my network.
Yeah.
I was a Dutch living in Belgium, and it's not so easy to build up in a foreign country. You know that as well. To build up your network and get in touch with like-minded people. So it was the best decision ever to get involved in MPI and to grow my network. And thanks to that, until today, thanks to MPI, I'm standing where I'm standing now, not only on a professional level, but also on a personal level. I met friends for life, got more self-confident. I give now presentations all around the world, which I never thought that I would do it. But being involved in an association and where you get the support and Mariska, you should do that more often. You're great at it. So everyone who's listening to this podcast, it doesn't need to be MPI. It can also be any other association site which is more related to incentives.
How do they help? Well, let's say somebody wants to join. How would this association help them specifically?
So MPI a chapter is like running a company in every country.
So you could run the chapter for like Netherlands, and you'd run it like as kind of like almost like a franchise. You'd run a local office, and you do meetups and stuff.
Yes, indeed. So if you would like to know more about events, or would like to know more about education, or even finance, of course, we need, or you would like to involve to get more partners in or partnerships, there are many possibilities. And what I did as a chapter president, I always looked towards the person in front of me and saying, what would you like to do? Or what would you like to learn? Or what would you like to improve? Is it communication? Is it partnership? Is it, so I look towards the wishes of the person in front of me and put them on the position that they wanted in the board.
Is it focused on like the venues, the hotels, more than the conference organizers?
No, that was our strength, and in the same time our weakness. We have a very diverse people of members and engagers. So PCOs, associations, conference event planners, even people from Helms Briscoe, sales managers of hotels, freelancers, people from MCI, just mention a couple of companies who were involved in our chapter, people from the press, students,
great,
seniors. So it's a very diverse group of people, which makes it also very dynamic.
Cool.
So I can really recommend it. Anyone who would like to get more involved or like enlarge a network, learn more, is curious or eager to try to new things, and MPI or any other association, of course, would be a great step to move forward in your career.
Great. So let's get to your career. What did you do in the events industry? What was your kind of work that you did?
I worked 5 years as an event professional on very different positions. I was involved in startups, was involved in incentive planning, involved in DMC. And during those years working as a freelance event planner, I discovered the struggle and the challenge of the supplier side, that they were not showing what they were doing. I mean, in our industry, it's really more than $1 billion industry. We spend so much on executing the events, but we don't show that to a new potential audience what exactly kind of events we are doing. So if we come back and say it in a nutshell, the storytelling. And I was really sometimes frustrated if I, as a freelance event planner, went to a fair or exhibition and saying, well, why should I organize an event in your venue or in your destination? And so often I got the standard reply from, well, we have 300 hotel rooms, we have 10,000 square meeting rooms, and we are a 4-star property. That doesn't say anything about what kind of audience do you want to have in your property or destination. So coming from the travel industry and being inspired by so many travel bloggers, I said, isn't that something that we can do similar in our industry? So I came up with the idea of using influencers, bloggers and vloggers from our industry, but who have a background of knowledge, like 5 or 10 years working in our industry, who know what a PCO, DMA, and DMO is, and what it stands for, but more important, that they have that network of decision makers who are following them. So that was the idea that popped up in 2000 and already in 2016. Yeah, time passes by quickly. And then I started in 2017 by creating that community online of social media influencers or MICE influencers, and connecting them to potential clients, which can be suppliers, technology providers, DMCs, hotels, conventions.
And for the audience, who don't know, what is DMC? And you said some other initials there as well.
DMC is a destination management company. So, for example, if you would like to organize an event in a city or a country where you don't know, where you don't have the knowledge or a network, or where you don't speak the language, it is a perfect reference point to reach out to DMO or DMC to help them, to support, to find the right venue, or to get everything organized, that you have a local partner who has a network, and of course also the insurances to help you to build your upcoming event. And that's and a convention bureau as well. I mean, they are, well, depending on the country, but they can also support you with finding the right DMC or finding the right partner to organize your event.
Great. Well, most people listening to this are organizing conferences or events, some big, some small. So let's talk a bit about social media marketing and influencer marketing and how they could start to use that. Do you want to start off with just social media marketing in general and what that is and how, and then we can talk about what it is and then how people running events could start to use that if they're not already active? Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I think social media marketing is essential, is key nowadays to make your event successful. And I think it's very important if you start up, if you're organizing an event, the first step that you need to do is, who is your audience? Because we're always focusing on a large audience, but I think the most important thing is, who is your target audience? Yeah. And within that audience, you can look first of all to, and who are the influencers, but also who are your speakers, because you could use and that's one of the tips that I would like to share. Who are the speakers speaking at your event, and they could also be a sort of influencer helping promoting your event, because they're already speaking. It's for them also a natural way of promoting themselves. So get them involved from a very early step and help them spreading your message into that audience that you want to reach out to.
I was actually talking to a guest the other week, and he gets all his speakers to record a YouTube video promoting the event and gets them to share it on YouTube, and then they use that as well. And it also good social proof on the website, because people can see the speakers definitely coming. They can see that they're excited to be there, and it also helps promote it as well. That was a really good tip I got.
Yes, indeed, it can be on YouTube. Of course, video is now hot, and it's you get a higher reach and more engagement than, of course, via a blog or just a regular post. But I do it as well because I speak at several events, and I think it's more than natural. I do it always also without asking to say, okay, next week or in 1 month, I'm speaking at that event, or I'm preparing my presentation or my travels towards a destination. So it is a great way of getting more awareness, more visibility for your event, to engage all the speakers, but also stakeholders, AV company, or anyone.
Could we just stick on the speakers for a second? Like,
Yes.
it's a great idea. What else, apart from getting their speakers to make a YouTube video, how can like an event organizer use the speakers to promote the event?
There is actually another. Let me go back to the point.
Yeah.
I think if you could prepare a standard post, because some speakers don't have the time or are always very, very active on social media. So if you could prepare as an event organizer a standard post and saying, would you like to share our event? Here is the post. You only need to copy paste it within your LinkedIn or in your Twitter feed, adapted, of course, to the several social media channels. That saves a lot of time for the speakers. And with that, you can create much more engagement. And you can do that for the speakers as well, of course, for all the other people who are involved in your event. But for speakers, this is a great way for time saving, and it's a benefit for both of them, for both parties.
And what else do you like? Do you say, look, could you post this on Twitter or Instagram, or do you just leave it up to them depending on where they're active?
Well, every speaker, of course, promotes it on the channel where he or she is more active. When I do a influencer campaign, we usually work for suppliers. So we don't work for the events, because there is another great company, which is a great friend of mine, Rachel Steven. Perhaps it's for the next podcast. She has that company called Snowball, and she's creating a specific tool to get speakers or other stakeholders more engaged, or creating that awareness and visibility for your upcoming event. So there are also tools like Snowball who you could use to create more engagement and visibility for your upcoming event, and where you can standardize posts on adapted for the several channels.
Great. And what else, before we get onto the influencer side, like in terms of social media, is there any sort of like process that you recommend to really promote on social media? I mean, obviously, pretty much everyone creates an Instagram page, a Facebook page. They post on Twitter and Instagram, maybe make some videos that also go on Facebook and Instagram. Is there any kind of concrete things you've seen work really well for people promoting events or even promoting venues?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I see from a lot of the biggest mistake, and I did it in the start when I started with social media, is social media is a conversation. So you want to create a conversation with your followers. So don't always say, promote yourself as a venue, but ask a question, ask to create more engagement, or not only promoting your venue or your event, but also trying to create a conversation, post something in general about the industry, for example, about trends or developments, not only focusing on the promotion side. It's a conversation that you want with your audience or followers. And also, if you're only promoting yourself, people will not be engaged after 10 or 20 posts when they only see look how great I am. So I think from anyone who starts with social media, it's a conversation. You want to build up engagement with your followers, and that is something that you need to. Every step that you take or every post that you do is this really interesting for the persons who will read the post? And that is something that you need to be more aware of.
And are you active much on LinkedIn, or is it mainly sort of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Well, I'm active on all the channels, which is quite challenging. But my personal favorite is still LinkedIn.
Really?
Because I started from the very early step when I'm already more than 10 years profile on LinkedIn. And I still love it because it is, you see a shift, but it's still the most professional channel. People don't post, look what I'm wearing today, but it's really more on the news, trends, developments. And I also notice if you are posting on a regular way, it is easy to create an audience, a professional audience of followers. So LinkedIn is my personal favorite, but it's of course for everyone different. But the second one, which is of course a very big upcoming channel, is of course Instagram Stories, where you create pretty quickly a large audience of followers.
Definitely. With LinkedIn, is there any specific tips in how you use it? I mean, for example, do you use like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to be able to find more contacts on there, or is there any sort of concrete ways you use LinkedIn?
What I use on LinkedIn, for example, if I get requests, some people who just want to link with me, I always, and they don't add any personal message, I always send them a personal message. Hey, apparently you're interested to connect with me. What is your reason? Can I support you? Can I introduce you to someone in my network? And also the other way around, if you have met, and that's what I see a lot on after events, you have a pile of business cards, reach out to them directly after the event, because then they are still fresh, they will remember you, and send a personal message. Hey, we met each other at, for example, at this and this event. It was great talking to you. And then people are also more likely to directly add you to their network because they still remember and it's still fresh. So if you have an event and you have new contacts, follow up directly the day after, or within a couple of days, follow it up by LinkedIn. That's a great way to grow your network more quickly.
And do you use it as a sales channel? Like, do you use Sales Navigator and look for contacts who you might be interested in working with and send them a connection request and then, see if they then might be interested to work with you?
Yes. And I also get, this also works the other way. I also get people say, hey, watch your profile. It's quite interesting. That's also the way how we connected. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I sent you a message. Exactly right. Yeah, correct.
So it really works, but it's also about a personal relationship. So I think people use it just to add their contacts, but sometimes just 2 lines or 2 sentences and said, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Or you have an interesting profile, let's jump on a chat. It takes a little bit more time, but the context that you get out of it are so valuable. And like, we have the podcast now today, so it is really a valuable channel to gain more business in a I would say in a fast way, but on a long term.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned influencer marketing briefly when you mentioned about speakers. Now, can you just start from the beginning? Like, what is influencer marketing, and then we can get into how an event organizer could look to start to use it in the beginning.
Yes. Well, first of all, I would like to say there's a lot of misperceptions about influencer marketing. The image that we have is young millennials posting on Instagram or any other channels with new clothes or new makeup. Yes, those are influencers as well, but there's a difference between B2C and B2B influencer marketing, and therefore I want to be that clear from the start. We use influencers as experts, and there's a great saying in China. They use the word "call," which means key opinion leader. So we use the right person to, for example, you want to create more awareness in Germany, where you don't have any network or any connection, then it's a great way to get in touch with a key opinion leader from your industry in Germany, saying, hey, I'm interested to work together. I'm interested in your audience. I'm interested in your experience because you have done a lot of events in Germany. Can we talk, or can we set up a campaign? So you reach out to people because you want to create more awareness or visibility, or you want to take them into an action. And I think that's the biggest summary of influencer marketing, and their huge difference between B2C and B2B. B2B is really all about knowledge and connecting the right people.
So essentially, you look for somebody who you think is influential in your field. Now, how does it work? Is it typically you pay them some money to help you, or is it sometimes like they just help you because they want to help you and they like what you're doing, or you sometimes offer to help them? How does this typically work?
Well, we set up campaigns for long term because we work in the B2B. So we need to do a campaign at least of 4, but preferably 6 months or longer to create that awareness and visibility, and also to see the impact of the campaign. So, and therefore you already have the answer on the question, because the influencer on average work a half day or 1 day per week during 6 months of the campaign. That's about at least 26 days that they're working. So they get paid to work on this campaign like any other.
When you say, sorry to interrupt, when you say working half a day or half a day a week, what are they actually doing? Are they they're posting half a day a week on your behalf?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we set up a campaign and when we get a request from a supplier, let me go back a little bit more so you understand the process. When we receive a request from a supplier, it's very important that we do our research and saying what is the audience that you want to reach, or what is the desired audience that you want to get in touch with. And by doing a research, we find the right profile of the influencer. So then we reach out to, for example, to an event planner in Germany and saying, okay, you have that influencer, you have that right profile. How would you translate the outcome of the campaign, which more visibility or awareness or our working on reputation? How would you translate that into your network? So we reach out to different people with similar profiles, and then we get outcome is, of course, for everyone different because everyone has his own style and his own way of working, and of course his focus on his own channels. And then we go back to the client and we present those different profiles of the influencer, the different input of the campaign, and they choose if it's one or several influencers. And then together we're going to set up, if they've made their choice, we're going to set up the content calendar, which means, of course, the influencer comes and visits your event or your hotel or your location or goes... And then with that, they're going to set up the content calendar for 6 months, which is a huge amount of work. And then, of course, within that time, we are regularly in touch with the client saying anything to change, anything to add. Do we need to modify anything? Is there another event that they can attend, etc.? So in that way, it is worked not only to post, but also to anticipate. They also do research, perhaps about their competitors, which they don't always have time to screen the profiles of their competitors. So I say the influencers are always also the eyes and ears online of your company.
Right. Now, do you think this influencer marketing model is something that's viable for someone like starting out running their first conference who maybe doesn't have much of a budget? Is there a way they can hack this cheaply, or is this only something for someone who's got a big budget and is really kind of established?
No, of course not. You can also do it on a very low budget or even without a budget. If there is an added value, like, for example, speakers are promoting your event or your conference, you can also reach out to an influencer and saying, hey, I'm starting up this conference. Is there something that we can do together? And it's not always about the money. If there's an added value for that influencer or for that person to get involved in saying, hey, I see also the potential. This could be something really cool. This is of my interest. For the organizer, perhaps they could give a free ticket or a free stay during the conference. And if that's an added value for the influencer to get involved and to promote it within his or her network, of course, this can also be done on a low budget.
Yeah.
But I repeat again, it needs to be matching with the values of the influencer. And if the influencer says no, it means that perhaps either it's not of that interest of for their followers. But it's a great way to do a campaign also on a very low budget. This is not a B2B example, but a B2C example. I always give the example of the ice bucket challenge, how powerful that could be by people copying that behavior. I said we can do that as well in our industry, the mice bucket challenge. So you just need to have a good goal, a good strategy, and timing to spread your
And what
campaign.
was the mice bucket challenge?
No, we haven't done that, but my dream. It is my dream to create a mice bucket challenge and show the impact of B2B influencer marketing in our industry.
Interesting, because you're kind of very much on the other side to people I normally am involved with in terms of you're often working with venues and destinations, whereas I'm someone who produces a lot of my own conferences and I have ticketing software for people that run conferences, and a lot of my friends do. So it's kind of on the other side. It's interesting to think that the venues are also desperate to promote themselves to get the conferences to come, because sometimes you don't always realize that, because a lot of venues can be kind of like a pain to deal with,
Yes.
But and not especially good at selling themselves, to be honest, like almost like trying to put roadblocks in your way and just telling you all the extra things they're going to charge you for, where it's interesting that some venues are actually going out there and really trying to promote themselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, as I've been an event planner myself, I know what it is also to be on the other side. So, but a lot of venues, there's so much competition nowadays, and to make the choice for the venue should be actually happy to have you and to get you involved if you want to create a conference, and especially if you're doing a campaign behind it. And some people, it really depends, of course, on the venue and the person that you're working with. But if you're saying, I am promoting your venue for this amount of people, and it will be posted every 2 weeks, your venue, or there will be put a backlink directly to your venue, directly to your dedicated landing page, they also will, they will be also more aware, or perhaps you have an audience that they're interested in. So I think it's also, it depends on the venue, but I think it also depends on the communication between the event planner and the venue.
Sure. That was really an interesting chat, Mariska. I think we're almost up to the half hour now. Is there anything else you want to say in closing? Where can people find you online?
Well, of course, you can find me under my own name, Mariska Kesteloo, or you can find me on the Word of Mice. I'm active on all channels. And for those who are listening to the podcast, and if you are an event planner or event organizer and you're very active on social media, I'm also looking for professional people, enthusiastic event planners who would like to work as an influencer. So I'm not only looking for clients, but also looking to expand the community of influencers. So please reach out to me if you would like to get involved in our community.
Great. And just, I guess the final question in terms of influencers, do you normally look for like a number of followers, or is it more like if you can see someone might have a small number of followers but be very influential? Is there kind of metrics you look at, or is it just really depend on the person?
First of all, yes, of course, it depends on the person. I don't always look to the number of followers, because I also have millennials who are so enthusiastic and they want to become an influencer in our industry, but they lack, of course, that amount of followers. So I have very different people in different stages of their lives and focus on different types on the market, because the MICE industry, the meetings and events industry, is so large and everyone has his own focus, his own niche. So I first have a personal conversation with everyone before I connect with them or add them in the community. So if you're not sure if you're the right profile, just reach out to me, and perhaps you are the person that we're looking for the next campaign.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Mariska, and all the best.
Okay, thank you so much, Dan, for the invitation. Nice talking to you.
Too.
Do you want to sell more tickets to your amazing events? EventsFrame event ticketing has been built to minimize the amount of time it takes to buy a ticket. Result? You sell more tickets. Check out eventsframe.com.